Welcome to the Lifted Lifestyle Podcast. This is a call to action to live above limitations that try to disrupt your peace, steal your joy, and limit your access to your best life. I'm Latasha Weatherspoon, your favorite host, and the CEO of the Lifted Lifestyle, the Chief Empowerment Officer. You can find me on all social media at Tasha Spoon, and I am joined today by my favorite host, Mr. Chaz Bailey.
Hello, world. This is Chaz Bailey, the COO Creative Opportunities. You can find me on Twitter at Chaz Bailey or Instagram, Creative Opportunities. I'm feeling good to be here today and hope y'all doing the same.
Good. So how's your day going today?
It's going good. It's going good because it always can be worse. So I'm just definitely grateful and happy to see another day and just to live it out.
Good. So what are you grateful for this week? We're going to start our show as we do every show, talking about gratitude. So what are you grateful for this week?
Well, overall, if I think about it, I'm grateful for transportation methods such as airplanes. Like, you never think about being grateful for airplanes, and I think I'm grateful for airplanes because you can escape the matrix of the day-to-day routine and go on a vacation, see family in an instant. So thinking about some travel that's coming up, I'm just grateful to have an opportunity to be able to get on a plane. But if you're not, you can get on a train, you can get in a car, you can get on a boat, you can go anywhere. And I think that's one great thing to do is just get up and go sometimes, and just having transportation methods is a great thing. So I'm definitely grateful for the transportation methods and those who came before me and created these systems that I use readily. So I'm happy for that.
Awesome. Well, today I'm grateful for the ability to disconnect. Tomorrow I am going completely off the grid. I plan to turn my phone off and log off social media and just kind of reboot, you know.
Yeah.
We give the brain a lot of credit for being the inspiration for the computer, but we never turn it off. You know, the same way we would restart and reboot our computers. So tomorrow is going to be my reboot day. I'm going to take some time and just do some self-care, get my nails done, get a pedicure, get a massage, you know, just take care of myself tomorrow. So I'm definitely grateful that I have the ability and the opportunity to disconnect.
Well, that's good.
I know for some people it's a little bit harder, so I'm grateful for that.
No, that's good to be able to do that and have. It takes discipline. It takes determination to do that because you see nowadays everything comes to our hands through our phones, and being able to leave that is, you have to have some type of willpower, because that's sometimes, as some people say, my phone is my life. And, you know, if you're thinking about the big picture, what you're doing, self-care is your life. So you're taking a chance on yourself, and I think you're going to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, just not logging on to the news or social media sometimes does me really good.
Yeah.
So I'm only talking to very important people tomorrow, i.e. my grandma. I'll talk to you. I'll answer your calls too, but you know. I'm only gonna talk to my top 5 tomorrow.
Okay.
And no offense to anybody else, I just need to reset.
Yeah, that's always good.
As well as I won't be active on social media or anything like that, barring any, you know, World War III.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you're worried about a phone, then you
know,
not even...
I'm just saying. But I'm really excited about it, actually.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Really excited
good
about
thing.
it. So what we talking about today, Mr. Bailey?
Oh, so this week we're going into the second part. If you remember last week, we discussed relationship readiness, and we spoke about how to put yourself in position to be in the relationship you want, or receive the relationship you want in terms of your personal energy, your self-care to attract the self-care of another. Now we're going to move to part 2, and let's say you did your work and time prevailed and you found someone. Now, how do you stay in it? How do you preserve that relationship? So part 2 of relationship readiness is going to be the preservation of your relationship. So I think we oftentimes talk about how happy we were to receive this person, but now we got to do the work to keep this person. That is equally, or if not more important, in my opinion.
I 100% agree. We always talk about, there's all these articles. What do you need to do to be ready to be a wife? What do you need to do to be ready to be a partner? What do you need to do? All these preparation things. But no one talks about the fact that when you are in it, that's when the real work starts.
Yeah.
Because then, it's not solely about getting yourself ready. You have to consider yourself as part of a unit. So
Exactly.
I'm excited about today's show.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Let's see what it do.
Let's get into today's show then. So before we go any further, before we get into the meat of today's show, I want to remind you that we want to know what you're grateful for as well. We want you guys to be keeping your gratitude jars and being bought into this process too. So make sure that you are implementing this as a part of your daily practice.
Yeah, and if you're on Facebook Live, as I see many of us joined us, go ahead and shout out what you're grateful for, and we'll definitely shout you out based on that, because a lot of times when we think about social media, we shout out the big things. I just got a house. I just did this. But if you just got a promotion or you made it through your work week or whatever, we'll shout you out for it, because that's gratitude.
Yeah, you didn't cuss the person out who cut you off in traffic.
Yeah, you living your life. You living good. You living good. So that's a thing to be shouted out
for. So Facebook family, go ahead and tell us what you're grateful for. And we're going to read a little bit of those later on in the show to talk about it, so we can honor what you are grateful for in your journey as well. Remember, this is a conversation. This is not we're not dictating to you guys. This is a conversation. So we want to invite you into the conversation. Okay. All that being said, so what do you think the number one thing you need to do to stay ready for a relationship, to make your relationship stay happy? Once you're in it, you're ready, you're in it now. You got the person you've been praying and asking for. What I need to do to stay happy?
I think you need to know them. You have to know who they are. You have to know your partner. I believe that wholeheartedly. I know we easily discuss many things such as communication to understand one another, but you have to understand who that person is and how they receive communication. Because if you throw communication one direction and they don't receive it that way, then you have another issue. So I think you have to know your partner, understand who they are, understand their background, understand their foundation. Because once you understand the foundation in anything, that allows you to move forward and progress on that. So everything such as a house starts on a foundation, and you can add to it as necessary, but understand and know their foundation. I think that's perfect.
So I think that's an interesting point, and I 100% agree that you have to know the person that you are, with. Yeah. How do you think is the best way to get to know the person you're with? What do you think is the best way?
Well, I was going to say communication.
Okay.
That and paying attention. And that's a part of communication, the nonverbal, where you're listening. So I definitely say that from my point of view right now.
Good. I like to often say that, I study my partner. I'm paying attention to the nuts and bolts of who you are. In addition, and a lot of that comes from listening with your ears, listening with your eyes, paying attention to patterns. Things like that are all important. And that is a very big part of communication, but asking questions too. I think we take for granted just asking. I know a lot. I tell women all the time, you can't expect your husband to read your mind.
Yeah.
But the flip side, husbands or boyfriends or spouses, the flip side is you have to ask if you don't know something. Because if you are just assuming or making guesses, there are a lot of times you just shooting in the dark. So when you get it wrong, then you're mad. Yeah. But you have to do the work on the front end. And I think that in relationships, that is the biggest thing. Do the work on the front end as opposed to doing the work, for apologizing or trying to rectify it on the back end. Do the work on the front end. Ask the tough questions.
Yeah.
Ask the simple questions. What's your favorite food? What do you like?
Exactly.
As opposed to just kind of winging it. Yeah. Now, there is some degree of just, paying attention and knowing what the person you're with likes, that brings a smile to your face. Like, oh wow, you noticed that. But when it's the bigger things and there's a conversation that can be had, have the conversation.
Yeah, I think that alludes to the importance of why or the true definition of dating. That's what you're doing. You're figuring it out. You're understanding, you're speaking, you're asking questions. Let's go to this restaurant. You like Italian? Cool. Let's eat this pasta. Those type of things that help your relationship in the long run, because it's going to come one day where you say, oh, she's not feeling good. She's not going to cook. Let me go get something to eat. What should I get? Oh, I know she likes pasta based on 6-7 years ago. So then you kind of have an idea. So that sets up you being in position to please. But at the same time, you understand who your partner is. But then on the flip side, when you grow older, you understand their points of view. You understand their background. So it'll put you in a position to be more respectful in a sense, because anytime conflicts arise, you can know, okay, I understand their viewpoint is coming from here. I understand how to manage this and navigate this. And I understand how to control myself in this based on who I'm with. I think we have to take a look at everything and keep everything in perspective. Overall, communicate and pay attention.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's good. Because if you pay attention, then that's when the little surprises come, you know, when you're like, you just come home bearing, you know, the favorite foods or the favorite dessert just out of the blue. You know, those are the kind of little surprises that are sure to get you a smile. Brothers, that's that's some free game right there. You know? Do something unexpected sometimes. That's some free game that'll put a smile on the person you're with's face. But I really think it really just comes to buy-in and knowing that it's about more than you. When you decide to be in a committed relationship, you give up the I for a we, you know? So putting someone else's needs, desires, intentions before your own, I think is the true definition of love.
No, that's real.
And so if you love someone, considering them, putting their feelings, putting their needs above yours. I tell, you know, when I coach couples, I always say, if you put his needs at the forefront of your mind, and then he's putting your needs at the forefront of his mind, you can't miss.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're taking care of each other.
Exactly.
You know, I think a lot of times when we go into relationships, we go into it very single-minded with the intention that I have to take care of myself, because if I don't take care of me, no one's going to take care of me. But the truth is, if you are partnered, your partner should be taking care of you.
No, exactly. You're exactly right. And to add to that, it's kind of as if it ties into where we ended last show. You always have to remember that this is what you prayed for. This is what you wanted. This is what you found. And so that's why it's important on the front end to make sure to go after exactly what you want, because it's like anything in life. You're willing to work hard. You're willing to make the moves. You're willing to do the overtime for something you wanted. Something my mother told me when I was going to college. She had her ideas of where I maybe should go, but she said, if you go where you want to go, you'll do better because it's somewhere you want to be. And I think something along those lines is big in everything. Like, this is the person I choose. I'm not a victim. I'm a volunteer. I wanted to be here.
I signed up for this.
I signed up for this. So once you understand where you came from, it allows you to buy in and allows you to take those next steps and understanding who you went and let you put the work in, really.
That's true.
Put that work in.
That's a good way to put it. You know, thinking about your mindset. And if you are in a relationship and you're not sure whether or not you want to be in it, that's always, for me, a telltale sign.
Yeah.
If it lasts more than just a few days when you're like, I'm not sure if I want to do this, because we all have those moments, you know, where it's just tough. Relationships and combining two worlds and two lives and two sets of needs gets hard. But if it lasts more than a few days and you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, you might really need to reevaluate that thing and put out, a sheet of paper and pros and cons, and then have that conversation where you bring the napkin with you. You know?
Yes, exactly.
Because it's not going to be ugly, but that doesn't mean it's not necessary.
Yeah, you need your talking points. Sometimes you need to bring your talking points with you when you're going through anything. And I think that's important. You have to understand where each person is, and because I know this is what I want, I'm gonna fight for it, because you won't fight for something you don't want.
Come on.
So it's no use of getting in traffic to go to a restaurant you're not really trying to go to anyway. You just call them, say, I ain't gonna make it. That's the type of deal you work with. So in a relationship, it's no different. It's basically get what you want on the front end and work hard to keep it on the back.
And so that brings me to the next thing that I think is important. And that's honoring the feelings of the person that you're with.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Honor the feelings of the person that you with in good and bad times.
Yeah.
I think it is paramount to put their feelings before your own. And that is not to say that you're in a place where you're self-sacrificing. There are no mortars here, But I mean in the sense of when you're having tough times and tough conversations, if you go into it with the other person's feelings at the forefront, it gets easier to hear them.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. It gets easier to say, well, maybe I did hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Because if a person, I always say, start the conversation with the feelings first and the facts second. You hurt my feelings when?
Yeah, exactly. And I think feelings are greater than facts, because we may know the facts, but that doesn't mean we don't know the fact of this person feeling this type of way. And so in a sense, it's kind of as if you're drinking water and I'm drinking Kool-Aid, and I say water is nasty, and you say, well, that makes me feel like you don't like being healthy. And then I say, no, I just think water is nasty. And then I try to disregard your feelings and give you all the facts why Kool-Aid tastes better. But then at the end of the day, that doesn't change the way I made you feel. Though on a factual point, Kool-Aid may be more pleasing to you because it's sugary and all of that. But at the end of the day, I reached out and said, I hurt your feelings, or I disregarded your feelings because the way you felt, that's the kind of thing that you can kind of get in a debate about, where you can't even come back to center. And that's a lot of things we have to realize, that a feeling sometimes is bigger than what the issue is, because the issue probably can be handled factually, but the feelings is also a factual person from the person's point of view.
When you get into those conversations and it's talking about the facts, what you really start to debate is perspective.
Exactly.
How you see this versus how I see that.
Yeah.
And that's really not the most important thing if you're trying to move forward. I think a lot of times in couple communication, we get fixated on wanting to be right and that comes from a place of wanting to be heard.
Yeah, it does.
But if you are in a committed relationship with someone who will listen to you, you can approach the conversation a little bit differently.
Yeah.
It's not that urgency to, I got to be right. Mm-hmm. No. I don't have to be right. I have to be heard.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how I feel from this situation.
Yeah.
When X, Y, and Z happened, it made me feel. Because if somebody can look you in your face and disregard your feelings, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think another point to remember in anything you do is that it's kind of silly to argue on opinions, because everyone's entitled one. So if you see it differently than me, that's okay. The conversation can kind of end it like, okay, I see your opinion, you see mine, but are your feelings intact? Now, if I hurt your feelings, now we have a need to have another conversation that I need to regard your feelings. But it's kind of silly, and we don't think about it because on a day-to-day basis, we're the world that surrounds us is based on opinions. Our news that we receive instant is mostly opinionated news. It's not necessarily factual. So we argue the opinions of it, and we argue the opinions of perspective on how we do this, how we do that. But if you take the time and step back and think about, this is his opinion or this is her opinion, and I respect her opinion not to hurt her feelings or his feelings, then the conversation can move on and be in a higher light. So I think that's something we always have to pay attention to. But then on the second part of it, we have to remember to always ask the question, how do you feel about this? Or how did I make you feel when that happened? Because we can argue all day until you tell me how you feel. Then it may be something underlining that I need to honor.
And speaking of, of feelings, you have to be willing to give the other person some grace.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to go into every conversation recognizing that there is no perfect person. there's only a person who's perfect for you.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that we oftentimes view our own perspectives and viewpoints as perfection.
Yes.
Well, you should see it this way because X, Y, and Z. But the truth is, every person comes to a relationship. They come to the table with their own journey. They come to the table with things they've already experienced, whether it be in their familial backgrounds and environments or in past relationships. Everybody brings something to the table.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Definitely.
So you have to be willing to give the person that you say you love, you say you wanted, you prayed for, you asked for, because that's the illusion of it all. Oh, it's the fairy tale conditioning. You know, we all watch Disney and it's going to be this fairy tale all the time. It is not a fairy tale every day. There are going to be some mountaintop days, but there's going to also be some valley days.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
When you are in the valley with somebody that you chose, somebody that you love, it is important to remember that they are not perfect.
Yeah.
Give them some grace in learning who you are on your journey, because it's a journey. It's not a destination. You're not going to just one day get to a place where your relationship is just it. It's just, you know, we're agreeing on everything. Yeah. You know, we're laughing.
That's when it get kind of weird. Like
yes.
you just laugh and say everything and you say, well, we think the exact same. That's kind of weird. You know.
But I mean, even, you know, there may be things that you think that's the exact same thing about. There may be days where you're mountaintop happy and laughing.
Exactly.
But, you know, there can also be days where there is a real work to be done.
Exactly.
Where you got to advocate for yourself inside this relationship, where you have to say, you know, I feel this way. But I think people come to the table with Disney conditioning. You know?
No, that's true.
It's going to always be perfect. When I get this person that I've been praying and waiting for, it's going to be all rainbows and good days, you know?
Yeah.
But that's not the truth of love. Love is work, you know?
And then that's not the case. Even with Disney, a movie is condensed to an hour and a half, 3 hours, depending if you're watching Titanic. But on the real point of view is that it has a beginning, it has a climax, and it has an end. Now, the end may be happily ever after. But one of my favorite Disney movies was The Lion King. His daddy died almost in the beginning of the movie. Like, this is rough. But he ends up being king happily ever after. We have to think of our lives as an elongated movie. We're going to have our ups and downs, but the program that we want to follow ends with a happy ending. So that means we have to work. We have to battle a villain. We have to do all these things to get to the end, to the happy place in the story. But I think all of this ties into what we said earlier, because once you know your partner and you're honest up front about where you came from and they're honest up front where they came from, and you understand their foundation, you can kind of understand the viewpoint they come from. Because if I come from up north and you come from down south, we automatically going to see things in a different light because of my environment. But if I understand that, yes, she's from the south and I'm from the north, I understand that her thinking may be a little different than mine. So it's not a conflict. It just gives me an opportunity to grow and learn her perspective from her region. And then she can do vice versa. So that's the thing I think we always have to remember, that it goes both ways. It's reciprocal, and you have to understand the foundation of it all.
You know, one thing that, you know, we look at varying perspectives. Mm-hmm. But in addition to varying perspectives, you got to do the work with yourself to figure out your own baggage.
Yeah.
What did I come to the table with? And be willing to be transparent about that.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that's part of the problem. People aren't really willing to hold that mirror up and face who they are at their core.
Yeah.
You know, based on the experience in their environment and past relationships. One of the hardest things I ever had to do was go to counseling.
Yeah.
You know, and have my counselor look me in my grown face and tell me, your sense of perfectionism is crippling you.
Yeah.
Lady, don't wait, lady. You know,
yeah, but that's
then
real.
When you think about that and you think about how that shows up in your relationships, whether it be romantic or otherwise, you start to think like, man, I kind of do have some issues with perfectionism. So I expect everybody else to be perfect because I'm holding myself to that standard.
Exactly.
But you have to recognize that the person that you are committed to had a different journey.
Yeah.
They have a different set of standards or operating principles. And you have to be willing to say, okay, this is the good of me. This is the bad of me. Can you deal with both?
Exactly.
But a lot of us, we hide the bad.
Yeah.
Here's the good of me. We're giving these Facebook snapshots of our life. Here's the good of me. On Facebook, they say that people only show the top 10% of their life.
Yeah.
You can't go into your relationship showing only the top 10% of who you are. Because if you're going to be committed to this person in the long run, your patterns will show themselves.
Exactly.
You can only hide the truth of who you are for so long before your behavior patterns really expose you to your partner.
Yeah.
So it is better just to come to the table transparent and say, this is who I am. Good and bad. I'm working to be a better version of myself every day I wake up. But today, here it is.
This is who I am. And that's real. And that's one thing that when you said that about perfection and, you want something perfect, or you want something that has a perspective, or someone that has a perspective similar to yourself. When you start thinking in that nature and you start saying, well, I want someone exactly like me, that means that you already put yourself, or you set the bar, and someone has to come in to be right there with you. So where's the room for growth? If you're right there with each other, where's the room for growth? I think about jobs all the time because, you have some hiring processes that say, I want someone to come in that thinks just like me, but the company has an issue. So the company issue is never resolved because you bringing in people that thinks exactly like you. So your life is not resolved because you keep putting people in there that's just like you. So sometimes you need to level the playing field and understand who you are and understand, like you said, the journey that this person came on is a little different than mine. But it's okay because the foundation is where I want. It's what I want. And it's growth opportunities there for not just him or her, but for me. And so that way we can grow together. And that's when you can start saying, well, I didn't just fall in love. I grew in love. So each day you can grow stronger. You find out something different, or you hit a conflict. When you hit that conflict, I can work with this person. I can fix this issue. So now we're good again. And then guess what happens? You go and fall into another conflict. But guess what? You can look back and say, just because I fell into this conflict doesn't mean I can't fix it, because I just fixed the last one. So we're just going to put our minds together and work through it. And I think that's very important to remember, that it takes two people to make it happen. And it doesn't matter that you're from different perspectives, because the yin and the yang wouldn't look like it was if it was different.
I mean, I'll tell you the truth. One of the best things about you and I is the fact that we challenge each other because we are polar opposites.
Yeah, definitely.
If those of y'all who don't know that about us, we're polar opposites. I'm an extrovert, Chaz is an introvert. Yep. I'm a thinker and he's an actor.
Yep.
So we're polar opposites, but it creates a good balance for us.
Exactly.
But it also, as much as it creates a good balance, it also means that we are both working very hard because we're challenged all the time to grow. I'm challenged to listen more than I talk. He's challenged to talk more than he listens.
Exactly.
So we're constantly evolving and growing so we can meet in the middle, meet it in the place where we come together, and that's where the magic happens.
And that brings us to the third point of compromising. It takes compromising and being accountable for everything you do. And I think, like you said, meeting in the middle, because you can be opposite. They say, opposites attract. And then some people say, well, we're too different. We can't be together. Well, that's not true. It's about the work you put in. It's about what you're willing to do and what you want. Like going back to what we first said, if this is what you want, you're willing to work for. So that means I'm willing to find the pieces. It's just like what comes to mind playing the game Tetris. It's different blocks in all shapes and everything, but the goal is to get lines that add up. And once the lines add up, you go to the next level. And that's the way relationship can be. You get the lines to add up, you go to the next level. And you just keep growing like that, even though you're an L shape and she's a block. It don't work. It's cool because, you fit right here. You don't fit at the top. You fit in the middle. So you just got to put in the work
and move it around a little bit.
Move it around and make it fit where it's necessary, and you'll win. That's the object of the game.
Yes, it is the object. Yeah. But I think it's also, one of the my core values is I'm very spiritual. So I look at like the scripture Corinthians 13 where it gives you like love is patient. Love is kind. And asking myself, am I being patient? Am I being kind? Am I willing to suffer through this? Am I compromising?
Yeah.
Or am I being selfish? Because a lot of times we come to the table and we've had a little conflict, a little issue, and you are feet planted in your side. This is what I'm gonna do. You know, but you cannot, for the sake of happiness in your relationship, you can be with somebody for a long time that way, but for the sake of happiness, you have to be willing to bend and give and move it around and reshape and say, you know what, I'm sorry because I'm tired of fighting.
Yeah. And that's where that accountability piece comes into play. And then you have to remember, like we said earlier, like, this is what I wanted, so I'm willing to work for it. I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to do what is necessary to make it happen. And then you have to understand the other perspective of just growing, because I can't grow. And then you have to ask the question we asked last week: would I want to be with me acting like this
right now,
in this moment? Would I want to be with me? And if you can't answer that question positively, you can just say, okay, well, I need to reevaluate myself, because it's both ways in a relationship. It's basically, I did this, you did that. We can point fingers all day, but when we sit down and say, okay, I honored your feelings, you honor my feelings, now what are we going to do to make this work? I'm looking at it from this perspective. You looking at it from that perspective. I'm willing to do this to make it work. And then the other person may say, I'm willing to do this. So that's where the compromise comes after the accountability. And that's the positive spin on it, because we can look at accountability as just being in trouble and just saying, yeah, it was my fault that I did that. But it is not about the blame. It's about what you do after that. You can lose a game, but are you going to practice the next day to get better?
Yeah.
And so that's what you have to do. You have to sit down and say, yeah, I messed up here, but I'm going to be doing this to keep that from happening again. Is that cool? And then if you're in agreement on that, chances are I'm willing to bet the other person may not have been in any wrong. They may find fault with something they did in 2012 and say, you know what? I'm going to stop driving in the wrong lane sometimes. You know, I'm going to stay in the right side and not go to the left side too early. And it may have nothing to do with that, but it's just like, okay, you came to me with something. I want to give you something. And I want to be there right with you. So then at the end of the day, we both took a talking point and made progress. And I think that's the thing you need to do.
I think you said something very powerful when you said it's not about the blame. It's about what you do afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where that grace comes in. Because everyone is going to hurt the person that you with. At some point or another, whether it be something big or something small, you're going to either do something that annoys them, hurts their feelings, or upsets them. Yep. You have to be willing to say, I'm sorry. Then you have to be willing to change your behavior, because saying I'm sorry without a change in behavior is just lip service, and lip service doesn't serve your relationship.
No, that's true.
So you have to be willing to put some action behind your words.
Yeah.
In order to move forward.
Exactly.
Don't just say you're sorry for the same thing over and over, because if you are continuing the behavior that you're sorry for, I would begin to question if you were sorry at all.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Because the apology is the confession and the shift in behavior.
Yeah.
You know?
You got to make that shift to make it work.
Definitely.
Because you can lose every game, but until you get in the gym and you do what you need to do, you got to put yourself in position to win.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happens at the end. You have to put yourself in position to win.
I mean, and winning in a relationship is being happy, being at peace with the person that you're with, you know, having a partner who is on your side. And you have to be willing to make that shift in order to really come to the table. Now, the last point that I kind of want to talk about before we go to the thing is fighting fair.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times when we're in conflict with the person that we're with, then we're upset and we're going to say something to hurt that person just because I know that if I say this, it's going to hurt you. It's going to get on your nerves. But really ask yourself before you say that, do I want to do damage to the person that I love? Because there are two things you can never have back: the minute after it is already gone, and the word after it has come out of your mouth. Ladies. Now, I understand there are some things that happen from men and women, but women typically try to fight with their words. Mm-hmm. Be careful what you say, because your partner will never forget it. Ever, 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 ever will ever forget it. It will do some damage and chipping away. So be careful with your words. Guys, the same way. Be careful with what you say and how you exploit those things that you know she's sensitive about, because she won't forget.
Yeah, and I see it in the same light, but when you choose a person, you both come to the same team. And as a team in anything, I know I refer to sports, but in anything, a job, school, projects, anything, it is basically we have a team to reach a goal. What is our goal? It's happiness, it's family, it's marriage, it's children, it's all of that. That is your goal. Now, would you do anything to break up your team if you were for your team? So that's the kind of thought process I go into. So it's no need to maliciously say, I want you to feel this, I want you to be hurt, because it takes two people in the team to function. So if you can't function, that means I can feel like I'm doing everything and not be going anywhere at all. So I think that is like something that we have to remember, that we're on the same team. So if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself, because we're on the same team. So now that goal that we were just that close to just got a little further. So now at the end of the day, I'm stabbing you and stabbing me at the same time. It's a double-edged sword. So we have to pay attention to our team and understand what we're here for. We're here for each other. So if I hurt you, I hurt me. And that's the kind of thing, like, I think about parents when they say it hurts you more than me. And it kind of will, because you not only hurt them, but you hurt yourself in return. So now you got the double hurt. You know, and so now you,
because regret is a hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're putting yourself in a bad spot.
But more than that, I mean, I think people reserve it for a marriage, and they say, the two people become one. But I think it happens before marriage for me. When you're seriously committed to a person, even if you're not married, and the consideration has to be, we're moving as one unit. At Southern, they would say one band, one sound. We're moving together in one motion. And you have to ask yourself, do I really want to hurt the person that's standing beside me in life? Do I really want to hurt this person? Ask yourself before you say that. And think about what you're going to say before you come to the table, because there are a lot of people who say a lot of things out of anger. But anger is a temporary emotion. It is the lowest level of emotion, But think about it. Force yourself to say, well, if I say that, it will make him or her feel.
Exactly.
And be honest with yourself about it. And I think that will really curtail some of that lashing out. Be careful what you say. Honor your person, your partner's feelings, Be willing to compromise. Yeah. Do all of those things. And I really think that communication is king. Yeah. Communication is king. You have to be willing to communicate. Say the good stuff. I appreciate you. Thank you. Oh, that makes me feel so good. As much or even more than you say, that upset me, that hurt my feelings, I didn't like it when. Because if your communication is one-sided, then you can't blame the other person for only seeing that part.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If you're only saying the negative things,
yeah, that's true,
then you can't expect the other person to know that you're happy.
Yeah, because sometimes the negativity weighs more. I think I remember being in school, and if you didn't do a homework assignment, the teacher would tell you, well, you get a 0, and if you get a 0, it takes 3 100s to bring that 0 up to a 70. I remember that, so I was like, okay. But in a relationship, it's kind of like that. If you just constantly throwing dirt, and every now and then you say, well, I appreciate you cooking, or I appreciate you doing this, and you may feel deep down inside very appreciative. At the end of the day, they remember all the dirt that was thrown. And even though you said that, they're still hurt from that. So you have to pay attention to everything you do, everything you say. Keep the person's feelings in mind, because you know who they are. And then you can honor both of you all's growth in the relationship and be good to go.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. I really like that, because we do, remember the things that we hear most.
Yeah.
from the people that we love most,
Exactly.
Well, I think that today's show was a good show. I hope that you guys got something good of it.
Facebook out there.
I see Facebook is hanging tough with us. Thank you guys for hanging through the show with us. We're only giving you what we have. This isn't, we're not saying that this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
But we're saying that this is the way that we know works.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what we know will work for you. Try it. Let us know, hey, you know what? Being a little bit more patient and honoring my partner's feelings has impacted us by X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Let us know. If you saying, man, I can't, honor his feelings or her feelings when she's yelling at me. Say that too. We'll give you some, some tips.
And remember, not just talk to me, talk to them, talk to your partner.
Yes.
Don't tell me, tell the partner. Because I'm not laying next to you.
That's true. That's true. And, don't forget the Lifted Lifestyle can do some couples coaching.
Yes, definitely.
If you guys need someone to help you with your communication, we can definitely do that for you.
That's what we do.
So what is our good news story of the day?
All right. So our good news kind of piggybacking on relationships. So it's an older couple. His wife lost her eyesight. And so what he did, he learned to do her makeup for her.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
Yeah,
that is
so
the cutest.
what he did, it's one of those things that I thought about that, man, I'm not dealing with that makeup. That's just girl stuff or what have you. This man, he actually took that extra mile to do it because him and his wife had a relationship. They've been together over 50 years, and he was making fun of her. He said, yeah, you missed that right there. And so he was playing with it. She said, well, you should do it yourself then. And he said, okay. And he literally took his time and learned how to do it.
Oh, wow.
And so, that's what happens in a relationship. You grow old together, but also you're willing to do things that you would never think about doing. So, kudos to him, and in the result from doing this, one of the lead designers in the fashionista for the Kardashians took note, and so now he's reaching out to him. I think he provided some products, etc. So I think that was an awesome story to see, in the fact of keeping your relationship together. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to go the extra mile? And you do things that you never thought you'll do. So kudos.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That really made my heart all warm and fuzzy. Wow. Just the consideration to be like, you know what? This is important to her.
Yeah.
And she can't do it for herself, so I'm going to do it for her. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And that's what it's about, because at the end of the day, it's just that it may not be important to you. And it may be something you never thought of, but it's because now I know that this person is important to me. I'll take interest in it. And if I need to do anything for it, I'll do it. So that's how I go.
Wow. Okay, guys, so that's our show for today. Remember that the assembly tickets are on sale at theliftedlifestyle.com. There are only 35 spots, ladies. So if you are planning to attend the Assembly 2018, I would advise you to act with haste and get your tickets, because once they're gone, they're gone. 35 tickets, because I'm turning 35 years old. So I will see you guys soon. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember that your life is your own and your partner is the one you chose. So remember to live lifted together.